state title in 98. Hey, he was so popular here at Caldwell County, he retired, and they asked him to come back for another year.
I'm telling you, we love our football coaches around here. I'm addicted to football, so anything football, I'm ready to go.
But, we were talking about some of the interesting stories that we all had shared in common. The 98 state championship year, and we talk about this, I tell Gates to the day, that whole season turned on a game that Caldwell County won here on a last-second field goal over Hopkins Central. The field goal was kicked by Jason Kelly.
41 or 42 yard field goal,
A game that most fans thought was over, and they were going down the hill. They were leaving the stadium going down the hill.
And that teaches them.
And Kelly's mother's head was buried in her lap at the time when he came on the field to kick the field goal.
And we were, if you remember back, we was having a hard time even kicking extra points.
Right.
But he nailed that field goal. I mean,
it wasn't close. It was easily made it.
See, we're talking a lot of WPKY history today. So how long did you do sports for PKY?
Almost 14 full years. I did football from 98 through 2011, and then I ended my I did basketball. My basketball ended in the spring of 2011. So the last football game I did was the Butler County playoff game here in 2011.
But then we still hear you all the time on WPKY because you also do stuff now.
I do. Hey, and I got to come back and do Tiger basketball this year.
I got to see him in a football game.
I got to do the All-A regional final between Caldwell County and UHA.
How cool was that?
That's pretty cool because I also got to relive my trig career because I filled in for Scott for a trig game this year. So
Did you do wrestling too?
No.
I thought you went out to some of the wrestling.
No, I did soccer. In fact, they convinced me into doing soccer here, and Ricky Huntsman and I did the first Caldwell County soccer game on the radio.
I was AD back then.
Yeah, so we did the first soccer game on the radio. They tried to get me to do volleyball. We never got to that point. So,
I've got some of the great sports minds here in front of me. I'm going to ask you a good question. What do you think about all of the games getting canceled?
Well, it was
affecting Jay. It's affecting Jay a lot.
My income in the spring starts in February and runs through the second week of May because I officiate college softball.
Right.
So I was supposed to have been in St. Louis for a doubleheader today, 2 tomorrow, and 2 on Sunday. So it would have been around a $1,700 weekend.
Wow.
And when you're on a fixed income, I have a little business, but it depends on referees and umpires buying their equipment from me. So if there's no games, they're not buying equipment. But I don't think the NCAA and the conferences had a choice. I think in today's era, if one student athlete gets sick, and even though it's per media, it's not going to affect the young, healthy person as much as it would somebody 70 years old with some health issues.
Right.
But I think early on, 2 weeks ago when this all started, I never had an idea that I was going to get an email yesterday morning at 10 o'clock saying the tournament this weekend's canceled. And within a 3-hour period, I had emails from the SEC, Conference USA, Sunbelt, ASUN. Finally got one from the OVC last night saying all spring sports are canceled. Now, the conferences are saying until further notice, first week in April, maybe. NCAA has already said there will be no national championships in winter or spring sports. So they've essentially canceled the College World Series for softball, baseball, track and field.
I'm telling you, in my wildest dreams, I never dreamed of that. And then, again, it was the same way for a lot of us within just a few hours. But there is, Todd's not here. Doggone it. You brought up one of his favorite things. Well, not so favorite things, maybe. Postponed versus canceled. Very different.
Yeah.
Postponed and canceled are very different when you're talking about sports events.
The only time I've ever seen anything like it, and it really wasn't exactly like it, was after 9/11.
9/11,
But we only postponed, a night?
We did.
Caldwell County was supposed to play West Carroll, Tennessee here, and we postponed it till Saturday.
We did.
One night.
The another part of that test is that Mr. Tackett, they played 4 games on Wednesday in the KHSA Sweet 16 for the girls. They finished the first game yesterday, and originally he had made an announcement in Rupp Arena, essentially, I was told, that the next day it was going to be limited to immediate family, the schools, limit the number of people that could come in as part of the school party. But then within the time frame of the first game being played, they made an announcement during the fourth quarter of the next game that the Henderson County, Marshall County game was not going to be played, and that the tournament had been postponed, and that the boys' tournament had been postponed. Pat and I were talking before we came in here, what will they do? Well, people have asked me. I had two people that were supposed to be umpiring me this weekend. Will we make this up? I said, guys, I don't think so, but I don't know. What happens in 2 weeks? Then the student athlete has to have some time to recondition and be ready to play. Right. Now you're pushing it into mid-April,
right?
And the season in softball ends the first weekend in May is regular season, and the D2 and D3 tournaments actually start that weekend. Baseball ends 2 weeks later, regular season. So then you're pushing them in there.
Well, you got to worry about the bleed over too, because when you've got, especially like in high school sports, if those track seasons and if certain seasons don't end before football starts back up, Coach, if you're talking about bleeding over past the dead period, that can really start cramping each other's seasons and making a difference.
What we could see with the statement the KHSAA put out today is we could end up seeing a 2-week regular season and then you start the postseason for high school spring sports.
Wow.
The other thing that Coach Riley said, they had gotten an email this morning which says that from today till a certain date, to the 12th of April, is to be treated as the dead period. They cannot have any contact with the student athlete. The student athlete can't be on campus. They can't use any of the facilities. He did say the only thing that the memo from Mr. Tackett said was they can have contact with them, text or email type contact, phone, but there cannot be any physical contact, and the student athlete cannot be on campus.
And while most teams were not affected by the Sweet 16 cancellation, because everybody else had been eliminated by that time, what it does affect now are the banquets. They cannot even have their athletic banquets at this point in time till at least April 12th.
Right. The campuses, different campuses. My son works for the University of Tennessee at their campus in Memphis, Health Science Center. And all of their campuses, UT Martin, UT Chattanooga, UT Knoxville, and UT Health Science Center in Memphis are being shut down. And they're being told to go home as quickly as possible. There's a little school a friend of mine's niece granddaughter goes to. Berea was the first school in Kentucky to shut down 800 students. There's probably Sophie said there's between 75 and 80 of those students are foreign exchange students. What happens to the Western has always had a big enrollment of foreign exchange students.
I'm going to tell you what, I've heard more about Berea in the last 2 days than I have in about a decade.
They canceled their baseball season before it even
before they ever played
before all this other
stuff started.
Yeah,
but it's.
How much of that, though, when you go online, like yesterday when they were updating the pre-sale for the tournaments is going to have to stop. Well, okay, now we're postponing it. Oh, wait a minute. When they're changing their mind every hour, people start looking at these news stories going, well, that's fake news. Well, that's not right. Well, University of Kentucky's the winner. What? I mean, when you start looking at all the news, suddenly you've got a hard time figuring out what is real and what is...
And we were
postponed versus canceled,
From the official side, we were told until you get a memo from that conference, and it was forwarded to us, like the one from SEC was signed by Mr. Sankey, but it was forwarded to us by Christy Cornwell, who is our assigner for the SEC. So our information that we got was strictly, we knew it firsthand what was going on. We had to consider the source of the information. But the bigger loser, in my opinion, are the student athletes that are seniors. What's going to happen with them? And there's already speculation, well, they'll get an extra year of eligibility. Well, you start handing out years of eligibility after basketball season's over for Tom, as you said, for
Most
all
everybody.
but 100 teams maybe
No.
out of the total D1 population, then it's there's just a ton of unknowns out there, and the speculation and the ESPN people and CNBC, all of them. I mean, they're all going to have their opinions, but
I think we're going to be talking about this season and this year as either the deal breaker or the one that changed it all for a
Well,
few teams for a long time.
While we got these two in here, I want to ask them. I want to go back to '98 question on them. I want to go back to the '98 season because
I'm having a hard time remembering.
yeah, you're having a hard time remembering. I always wondered, and it's one of those thoughts back because the football team went so long and went to the
Right.
state championship game. I wondered if that Caldwell County basketball team, if they'd have gotten together just a little earlier, might have been in the state tournament that year.
You
It's
know,
all your fault, in other words. and
yeah,
you'd like
well, I
to
mean,
blame
it's
me
just-
for it.
well, most of my players made up the basketball team.
The first basketball game that year, Desmond Dooley started. He was the only one that saw any significant playing time after the football players came back because Kelly was on that team. Craig Wyatt played on that team. Gerald Fuqua, Stuart Childish, Justin Grooms.
Stewart.
And they ended up
Yeah.
losing in the regional tournament, double overtime,
Three overtimes.
three overtimes
Three
to
over-
Henderson County,
who won it.
in the closest game that Henderson had till like the Final Four.
I'm going to defend him there for a minute, though. Really,
Well, I'm not blaming him. I'm just
No,
saying,
well, No, I think he was
did it
blaming
have
you,
an
Coach.
impact?
Isn't that what you heard? He blamed you a little
Oh,
bit, didn't he?
yeah.
You know, though.
I'm used to that.
There could be is something to be
Hey, I
said
would-
for the fact that he was getting them and making sure they were in
The guy-
tip-top shape before
the
they
guy-
ever hit the gym.
The guy that really needs to be in on that question is Terry Birdsong.
Oh yeah.
Terry walked into a whole different environment than he was ever used to, Tom. When I remember the day that Mr. Rogers introduced him in the superintendent's office, and he had the basketball parents from the previous year of Coach Scott's last year come to that meeting. And I had refereed for Terry Birdsong as a player and as a coach. And I said, and I told Coach Birdsong that day, I said, "You're walking into a different world."
Yeah.
Why? And I said, because these kids don't live and breathe basketball. I said, you got a room full of football players here. Josh Ramage was in that group.
Yeah,
And
Josh was 6'9".
Josh had grown between his sophomore and senior year. He went from a 6'2" couldn't move to a 6'8" left-handed player that was good.
Yeah.
And,
But I mean-
I tell you
that
what,
summer-
they'll scrap under the basket for you like a lot of the other ones won't.
But the first game that group played, when did y'all come back, Pat? They did the parade on Saturday night or Sunday?
It was on Saturday night.
And then you did
yeah.
the thing out at the high school on,
On Sunday afternoon.
Because my supervisor let me out of a basketball game at the University of Houston on Friday so I could go to the ball game. And I flew out on Saturday. After the game, flew to Houston and refereed Saturday night and Sunday and Monday while y'all were at home.
Right.
And Gail was calling me and telling me what was going on. They played Crittenden County
on
on Tuesday night and it was a football game. It wasn't a basketball game because you had Justin Grooms and Gerald and Stewart and Kelly and that group that went back out there. Jimmy Costco was in that group.
Yeah.
He was just a baseball and basketball player, but that was just it was a really rough basketball game that first
we need
night.
Todd here because Todd could throw out dates like crazy.
That football run though that year was so much fun, and I'd still, I don't know if I ever asked him on the next day on the coach's show, but I probably did, and this has been years ago. Your thought,
figured you still have a copy of it.
Your thought when the football hit the ground where Danville botched the punt.
Thank you, Lord. The good Lord was looking. Of course, they'd called it off. Everybody knew but the punter.
Yeah.
You know, and of course we were anticipating a fake, and come to find out, Gerald lined up on the wrong side, but actually it turned out to be the right side. And I mean, he just had that instinct, and that ball was snapped, and he never broke stride. You know, picking it up, and that was a key turning point. But also, his quarterback draw in that game against Danville as well was a big part. That fourth quarter, we had so many step up. Kelly made it super. He talked me into throwing an out over there, and on that little short cornerback, Brick Kid, I believe was his name. And of course, we was trying to run the clock out, you know, and hold on. And he caught it, and we went on in and scored on that to make it a 10-point game. So
That postseason, the weather got better every week.
it did.
The first playoff game was the coldest. We're at Cardinal Stadium the first Saturday of December. We're in shirt sleeves. We're in shirt sleeves because it's that
Wow.
warm. And then what I remember after the championship is none of us wanted to leave. We had the Caldwell game was the last game of that day. And everybody was just standing around. Nobody wanted to leave.
Unbelievable.
They finally had to ask. There were several of the kids, Brian, and I remember Brian and Kelly sitting down on the bench, and they had gone out into the infield or where the dirt is exposed on the field, and they had picked
Handfuls
up
of dirt.
hands full of dirt, and put it in cups that had been there on the sideline, saving the dirt.
That was an
But-
old Cardinal Stadium.
Yeah.
That's-
And they were sitting down there on the bench, and finally security people were coming along, shushing them off to go on and leave because not many
Of course,
people.
we had 8 or 9 kids going both ways, and we were in good physical shape. And I told our kids at halftime, I'll never forget that. I said, we're right where we need to be. We was down a couple touchdowns, but I said we just keep it close to the fourth quarter. Because we can win. But we did all this conditioning, and I thought they were starting to fatigue. And come to find out,
It did. The fourth quarter was.
Yeah.
So,
and if
who's the Caldwell coach that you look up to the most? Since we're talking about
The
PKY
Caldwell
history
County
and stuff
co-
today, yeah, back
Fred
look back-
Clayton.
Why?
He was my high school coach at Christian County as well. And of course, he won a state championship here in 1963. And I played under him my sophomore, junior, and senior year at Christian County after he left here in, I think, 71, I believe 1971.
72 was your first season to have him at Christian
Yeah,
County.
72 was the first season. And of course, Jay came right after I left, graduated to Christian County and coached there. But he was coaching at Fort Knox when I was in high school. And I'll never forget that, you being down there. But Fred had a lot of influence on me. And, of course, Coach Giordano, too. When I came over here in 1986, just a ton of respect for Coach G.
Everybody
And-
loved Coach G.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you didn't have to play football to love Coach G. I think everybody just loved him.
And now to give Gator credit too, after Coach Hatchell left after 2 years, it was late in the years I remember,
It was.
and they were going to
2005.
have a difficult time doing the coach search. He stepped back up and took the job, and got to the second round of the playoffs the next
Look
year.
at that.
In fact, we went to Monroe County.
I was blessed, And I
got a
just
win.
had a knee replacement in
Yeah.
the summer, right after I retook the job again. And I remember that first game against Marshall County down there. Our opening game, I believe, was in one of their bowl games
Man, it
or
was hot.
something. It was hot. I was on crutches still, and, I was pretty fatigued, and we got a pretty good pounding from them, but we turned out to have a pretty decent team that year. And
Went to Monroe in the first
beat
round of the
them.
playoffs, beat them, stopped
Yeah.
them on a 2-point play after the clock had run out.
then
They
we
scored
had
on the
Micah Johnson, the revenge game. We played Fort Campbell really good during the regular season. I think it was a 10-7 game. And, of course, they had 4 or 5 Division I players that year, and Micah got kicked out of the game.
Kent Kirby got under his nerves, and Micah got thrown out.
He did, and it was a good ending. I mean, I enjoyed it that year. I really had fun, and great group of kids. And of course, the very next year's when David came.
Yeah.
And David had a really good year that year. Had a rough first game, against Mayfield, which everybody seems to do, and
But the next 2 years with Will at quarterback, they beat Mayfield 2 years in a row.
They did.
We went to Mayfield, David's second year, we went to Mayfield and just ran Mayfield off their own field.
Yeah.
And then the next year was the great Mayfield Mud Bowl. It rained so hard all night long, and Tigers got the lead, and we were able to hold on, but it rained sideways. At the end of that game with Mayfield that year, there were more people in the press box with us than there were in the stands.
well, another memorable game was 1985 when Caldwell played Mayfield. Coach G's last game as a head coach. That's got to be a memorable moment in Caldwell County football history because they went down to Mayfield, huge underdogs, and beat Mayfield. Mayfield turns around and wins the state.
Now, I have
Same
another-
year we won it, and they beat us at Crittenden in the mud that year.
I have another memorable game that you came out on the wrong side of. But there was the Trigg
Because those
game.
are the ones he wants to remember,
Well,
Tom. I mean, you know.
But it was memorable for the way it was played. The Trigg Caldwell game in '89. It rained all day long. It rained sideways all night long that night. And I mean, it was a tight, hard fought, back and forth game.
Yeah. Was that the year that Trigg went to the state
That was the year
finals?
Trigg went to the state final.
And yeah, we couldn't kick an extra point. You know, we went in overtime, I believe.
Yeah, and Greg Bridges, who was the running
That's
back for
right.
Trigg, had to kick the extra point. And he couldn't change his shoe.
Yeah.
So he kicked the extra point with his running shoe on.
And I think
Oh, my goodness.
And it was just awful.
13
rainy
to 12
weather, yeah.
or something. It was a
Great game.
Yeah,
but
good game. good game.
97, last game of the season at Owensboro Catholic was
Oh,
a memorable game
Yes,
as
it
well.
was.
The
Another one on the wrong
Yeah,
end.
the defense didn't give up a touchdown.
And Tess, I bet you didn't know.
Blocked a punt.
Yep, blocked the punt and
Yeah.
intercepted
Gates
the pass.
he's a prophet.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know.
What year was it we went to Trigg County? You told me the first play you were going to run and you were going to score on it was Donovan Dame, a counter on for Donovan Dame up inside.
Probably was. I can't remember.
But he had told me going into the game, he says, this is the first play we're going to run and we're going to score on it. And
We
sure
need to
enough-
sign you up then.
And sure enough, Donovan ripped off, I think, a 70-yard run on the first play of the game.
Boy, I've been blessed
Wow.
with some really good players.
Yeah.
And, you know, Donovan's another outstanding player.
Full of kid could fly.
Oh, he could. He could.
Coach Gates also was blessed with some really, really good assistant coaches.
He was.
And my son, the year after they won, and Pat was left with, 3 seniors maybe, and Joe Dan was a junior going to play quarterback the
Oh,
next
yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Hurt his knee against
Zach,
McLean County.
yeah, Zach
Yeah.
Barnes and
Yeah.
maybe Bubby
Bubby
Puckett were the only
Yeah.
2 seniors
Right.
maybe that had played any the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelly was somewhere. He came home for a weekend and he heard somebody talking about Coach Gates is, and I thought he was going to rip the guy's throat out before.
Well, we knew we were in for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
we
Kelly-
lost.
Yeah, that was.
But we had some unfortunate injuries.
Yeah, Joe Dan's knee
Yeah.
injury. So
Kelly's time after the state championship, when we watched the tape a little bit from time to time, he would talk about Coach Carlin and Will and the people that helped Pat, because the scouting report was so good based on the tape from watching it Saturday and Sunday and giving the kids a scouting report on. And Larry has always said it wasn't him. It was the kids, because they could go out there on Monday and show them what they needed them to do different than they'd done the week before, make a defensive adjustment, because the kids could do it. Well, that's fine that the kids could do it, but somebody had to be there to point it out to them.
I'll tell you, Larry, on Saturday morning when we went, of course, back then you had to meet the coaches to exchange films, and of course in '98 we had to travel. You know, we played Bullitt East in the
Mount Washington
semifinals, and we had to drive all the way to Elizabethtown, you know, to swap out tapes after our Saturday morning quarterback show. And, you know, we had to do a lot of exchanging. But as soon as we got back, and Larry went with me most of the time, he'd be glued to, you know, his VCR there and breaking the films down on Saturday and Sunday. And
How long did you do the Saturday morning quarterback show?
ever since
it was
I
going
came,
on. It was going on when I got here. So
86, you know, we
Used
had
to
it
be
over
right
at
there.
Druthers Twyman, and of course Tom did it.
we had moved it by the end. We had moved it to McDonald's. I think after Druthers closed, we moved it to
We did,
McDonald's
right.
for a while. But
There's a throwback
Yeah.
that we need to say hi
Yeah.
to. Man, I miss Druthers sometimes.
Yeah, Philip Phelps,
Go to
if you're out
Campbellsville.
there, you know, he took good care of us. Philip and Pam.
Jay was talking about coaches. There was one year the defense was struggling, and we had sort of a midseason turnaround in it. And Will Brown, for the rest of his career now, got known to me as the man, and it embarrassed him so much because I'd walk up to a
He
game
was the man.
as soon as I got there and said, "It's Will the Man Brown."
Yeah.
He's still the man, too.
You
Don't
know-
let him-
I'll tell you what, though.
Jay made
People
a
really
good
enjoyed
point.
that show, though. They really
Well,
did.
We enjoyed it too. You know, we, you know, we're very blessed with assistant coaches, as you mentioned. You know, going back when I first came here, there was only 5 of us, period, to run the middle school all the way up to the high school. It was me and Richie Hughes and Dennis Tomick on the high school level, and Larry Curlin and Carol Boyd on the middle school. Those were the 5 coaches that, you know, or together that started out, and of course we added to it over the years. And of course we lost Richie not too long ago. He was and DT, of course DT even helped me in '98. He was up in the press box some, and we've always had a close relationship together. And you can't say enough about Will Brown and Wayne McGowan. Wayne played for me and coached under me, and Bradley Stallings. Bradley is, it really sweetens my heart to know that those guys are still coaching, and maybe we had some influence on them in a positive manner.
I think you did, and I appreciate you guys being here today.
Real quick before we get done with them, I want to thank Gates, because first year I come in, I knew a few people because of my years doing sports in Trigg County. But the first thing I had to start doing was Caldwell County football. And he made my life a whole lot better because, he didn't know me really from Joe Blow coming in. And
well, you made my life better too. We had a good relationship together, and he made me feel very comfortable doing interviews. And
well, look at that.
He was.
It's a bromance here going on.
I can see that.
Well, you did.
And I made both of their lives miserable.
Whole different story, whole another show.
There's always that one in the room.
That's right.
Thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you for having us, and congratulations on 70 years to WPKY.
How about that? About that?
Big shout out to Twyman. I saw him this morning here, and I was glad to see him. And Willie, wake up to Willie.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, I figured I had made it. I said, that's the one time that I can, say, well, it don't get no better than that. When you're in the room with Willie and Twyman at the same time, I said, that's about as good as it gets right there. I don't know. I'm done. So, Tom Rogers, thank you for coming by, too. Of course, you can still get a load of Tom on yoursportsedge.com. How about that? So you don't have to miss out on him. He's on all the time. Stick around. We still got some more people in the house. Miss Cindy Lax is here. And, of course, she's been around Caldwell County and around WPKY for many years. So we're not done just yet. Join our birthday party. It's 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Community Medical.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast: increasing clouds today, reaching a high of 54 degrees. North winds could reach 20 miles per hour throughout the day. Tonight, cloudy skies and overnight low falling down to 42 with a 50% chance of showers mainly after midnight. That increases to a 100% chance of showers throughout the day tomorrow, reaching a high of 45, and showers pushing out of the region before early Sunday morning, an overnight low of 37 by tomorrow night. Clouds on the increase today, reaching a high of 54.
Finally, a great tackle store, and I don't have to worry about where I'm going to park my boat. I can pull right through. Caston Nets on US 62 in Eddyville is a bass fisherman's dream. Caston Nets has new and refurbished reels by Daiwa, Shimano, Shakespeare, and Lew's. Caston Nets also carries a large selection of rods and boat electronics too. Tackle by Strike King, Yum, Zoom, Ledge Rock, and more. Like us on Facebook and make Caston Nets in Eddyville your destination for great fishing tackle.
First Southern National Bank's Southern roots run deep. Founded in a small Kentucky town, First Southern has always used their example, influence, and resources to help others make wise financial decisions. They know you want to be in charge of your money and to feel valued by your bank. At First Southern Bank, you're more than a number, which is why they've provided personalized service to their customers for more than 35 years. Visit fsnb.net to learn more. Member FDIC.
Things are really moving and changing at Bows & Cleats Boutique in Eddyville. This Saturday, 7 to 1, is the final yard sale in their Eddyville location. 80% off name brand and blank t-shirts, purses, shoes, jewelry. They also have 2 sales counters that would make awesome bars in someone's man cave. They have fixtures, tables, odds and ends. After Saturday, Bows & Cleats Boutique will become B&C Unique Boutique. Wednesday, March 18th in their new location in the Princeton Plaza. Don't miss this final sale this Saturday, 7 to 1 in the Eddyville Mall.
Dr. Carl Hinton provides a variety of surgeries and scopes at the Trigg County Hospital Surgery Center. Dr. Hinton is well known and loved in this area and provides years of experience in the following procedures: appendectomy, colonoscopy, EGD, gallbladder, skin lesions, tubal ligation, and more. Dr. Hinton is available for clinic appointments Monday and Thursday 1 to 5 and Fridays 8 to noon. His office is located in Suite D of the Medical Arts Building next to Trigg County Hospital. Call 270-522-2557. Close to home, close to your heart.
Are you ready to sell your home? Call Farless Realty today and let a realtor sell it for you. Ready to buy a home? Don't waste precious time. Farless Realty can help, and interest rates are still reasonably low. They'll work hard to find you a home that will fit you, your family, and your budget. Contact Farless Realty at 270-365-5058 or stop by 323 South Jefferson Street in Princeton, Kentucky. Check out all their listings on Facebook and at farlessrealty.com.
It's tax time. Hi, it's Christy and Casey.
Invest your tax refund wisely on an affordable vehicle at U-Ride.
At U-Ride, they offer on-the-lot financing too. Good credit or credit problems, they can help. U-Ride is a proud sponsor of all of Caldwell County sports on your hometown radio station, WPKY U-Ride on the Marion Road in Princeton. Let David help you find a great vehicle at a great price. And Christy and Case can help with all your financing needs.
Do your part to stimulate the economy by investing your tax refund at U-Ride.
YourSportsEdge.com. We promised a new day in local sports coverage, and we delivered. But don't take our word for it.
It allows me to follow other sports while I'm actually coaching my own.
It means that our athletes get the coverage that they deserve.
It means to me that I can better myself by looking at the competition around me in my area and just better prepare for the moment.
They participate with us and document how we're doing.
YourSportsEdge.com.
1580 103.3 WPKY, and I'll tell you, it's our birthday today, and I'm so excited. It's our 70th birthday, and we're getting to see people that we haven't seen in years, and in some cases, like Willie and Twyman together in the same room that I don't know if I've ever seen. So it's
again.
Amazing. And Miss Cindy Allen Lax is here. And I'm excited about that because this is the first time I've been on the air with her.
It is the first time. But
first time for everything.
It is definitely not the first time for WPKY for me. I grew up listening to the one and only Willie Wilson every morning. My mom would turn on the radio in the kitchen on top of the refrigerator, and the Red Red Robin comes bobbing along. Would come on the radio station, and it just made you happy. You know, you got up every morning, and maybe that's where it started with me. I'm a morning person. I love morning, and I love morning radio. So how appropriate that's what I do with WKDZ. But Willie has been such an icon in my life. I grew up, like I said, listening to him. I was on the streets of Princeton as a young child because I'm like maybe 5, 6, 7 years older than his daughters. And I was on Main Street the day they got the girls. They adopted the babies. They had them in a double stroller. I'll never forget that because you didn't see stuff like that. And they were out walking the streets of Princeton showing off their baby girls.
I wonder if that's why he was just always positive, and that was one of the reasons why he was so intent on putting positivity out there.
He's just that person. I mean, he is that person, and I want to think that maybe I learned a lot from Willie Wilson, not knowing I was learning from Willie Wilson. How important it is to start the day on a positive note and try to, keep it positive. There's a lot of stuff going on we know right now, but we don't have to give into all of it. We can be positive and spread that message of kindness and love and helping people when they need help.
She does a thought for the day every day, like a good thought for the day.
I do every day.
So that's very much in the Willie spirit.
Yeah, I don't know that he did that, but I just feel like that we have an awesome opportunity every day to touch people's lives in so many ways. I mean, giving them information. Willie did radio the way I still love to do radio, community radio, local radio, where we tell what's on the senior citizens menu, and we do the lost and found pets, and those things that you're not going to hear somewhere else. You don't hear that on satellite radio. You don't hear that on even TV stations. And so I feel like we have an opportunity to be unique and different and totally locally community radio stations, and I love that opportunity. I've been with WKDZ soon be 27 years. I was thinking 26 about this 27 in April 16th. I still remember that day.
You started when you were 12, right?
Actually, I was 37 when I found my dream job. Didn't know it was going to be my dream job. It was just a job, and I need a job terribly. But I went to work for WKDZ, which I had listened to ever since I moved to Princeton in 1974. And Willie Wilson, had been there, as well. And it was like, okay, this thing, I keep finding Willie. And he's still in my life. And I'm so thankful, that he is. But, I love the radio station. It's just something I think I started my life with and I want to finish my life with. I enjoy every day that I get an opportunity to serve our community.
Well, we thank you because you have done a lot for the community, and you may be on the air at KDZ, but you work tirelessly for PKY right here in Princeton.
I do. The people have been amazing. This was kind of a dream. Beth and I had talked about it for years. We wanted to have WPKY someday. That someday it took a little longer than we thought, and it didn't happen like we planned it, but it's all okay. It worked out perfectly. In God's timing, it was absolutely perfect. And then, yes, I've been selling for WKDZ in Princeton forever, so I still had those connections. And now that I get to come over here and give them the option, you can advertise on WKDZ, WHVO, WPKY, all three. It's just amazing. And the people have just been so receptive to everything that we've done with this radio station.
Sometimes it just works out the way God wants it to.
It always does.
You just got to let him do it, don't you?
It always does. It might not be what our dream was, but God has a better plan always, and we just have to wait and listen. But it's been amazing. It really has been. When you get to go out in the community and hear the same thing over here that I'm used to hearing from our other communities that we serve, and it's just pretty amazing. I think I have the best job in the world.
I think you do too, but we do similar things. And Bill Booth is with us, and Princeton is pretty special to you now too, huh?
It's great. It's so much fun because when you go into businesses in Princeton, the majority they're playing WPKY. There's so much community pride in Princeton, and the new restaurant that just opened up, all the work in renovating downtown, and how Fredonia's come alive, all the communities in Caldwell County, and it's so much fun. There's such support for the schools here. There's such support for the radio station, and people. It's kind of like singing in front of your home church. I did mornings here for 5 weeks when we were working on the transition, and people, it's like, oh, it's fine. Yeah, it's okay. You messed up, but that's okay. We all make mistakes, Bill. And a very understanding audience when we made the transition, and it's been nothing but good.
I think it's been phenomenal too, because what we're seeing is people, like even when Kathy and them did open up, Gather on Main, they're using local artisans on the inside of it. They're using some of our special needs community from right here in Caldwell County to work there as well.
That's awesome.
And that's something that we hadn't seen in the past, and in a lot of ways. And they're embracing so much, and it's almost like we have a rebirth of the town and the excitement and the community, sense of community. And I don't think it could have been at a better time, because right now during things like this, we need it.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
And I'm hoping
it's
that
your local businesses that are there for you when you do need. They're right there, and it's so nice. You really, sometimes we may take them for granted a little bit, but boy, it's so nice to have local business right there in your community that you can shop, that they're going to be there and support you, and we're going to get through all this together.
Well, and it goes back to that trust factor too, because when you can trust somebody, and because you've dealt with them, and as my dad calls it, you've traded with them for a very long time. That's what they always called it, and I think that's a really good way to put it. But when you've traded with somebody your whole life, you get to know that, is he a horse trader or is he a good guy, Yeah. And I think that goes back to the businesses downtown and the chamber and the different things that they've changed, in the last year. And it helps us do our job.
There are some really long-time businesses in Princeton, Kentucky, some that have been on Main Street for many, many, many years, and they don't remain that way without being the type business they need to be, serving their community, serving the people, supporting things like the Optimist Club, auction that's going on this week. That's what makes the difference between that online customer and a brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to be here donating to your kids for their baseball team or soccer team, you know, but your local businesses. But they cannot do that if you don't support them. So it is a continuous partnership between the partners, the business community, and the consumer. And we just have to think about, I might have to pay a little bit more to buy it in town, but in the long run, what's that going to mean to my community?
It's worth it.
Yes,
it just is. When I can walk in someplace and they know my name and they say, "Hey, how's your mom and them?" I love that.
Yeah.
I love that they know my parents. I love that when I walk into Joiners, I know my dad. That was his very first job when he was a kid, was working down at Joiners. And I love the sense of community with Newsome's, you know.
Yes.
And there's just so much that's here, and I want to keep it. And if we can hold on to that, I think the Chamber's doing a great job of it right now, where they want the traditions to stick around and they want the new traditions to stay. And I think that's what's going to get us through the next few months with this big, you know, with the big scare of the virus and the big bad wolf kind of. And I think if we all kind of hold hands and get through it, I think we'll be fine.
I think so too. I think everybody's going to be just fine. We're just going to have to ride out the storm. We've had storms before, and we will ride out the storm, and we'll be stronger on the other side, as they say.
Well, the radio auction, I can't not talk about them either. I mean, Miss Beth, if you would have seen the cheesecake we had down there a couple of nights ago.
I saw the picture
heard about
of that. Oh my
I
would have been
gosh.
bidding on it if I could figure out a way to get it home, but
it was that
because
thick.
my crew would have eaten it.
No, we would have.
I never met a cheesecake I didn't like.
Me neither.
I love cheesecake too.
I'll tell you, that's another one of those though. The people like the Optimist Club, and we have our Rotary Club, and we have all of those people that are community organizations that work so good with us, and they're always coming in and telling us what they're doing, and we can't do our job if they don't do that.
We loved that our birthday week ended up in the same week of the Optimist Club auction, because it gives us a chance to remind people of the importance of serving your community.
Right.
They're serving our community just like we're serving this community.
Oh, and it was perfect. Willie's birthday,
Yes,
our
that's what I
birthday,
was
and the
just
radio
thinking the same
auction.
thing.
I was like,
Trifecta.
party week.
How can you have a bad day,
Trifecta.
right? Trifecta, that's right. But we're donating a great big basket with all kinds of wonderful things in it, and Heather has been working hard to get that ready for us, and let's raise a lot of money for the Optimist Club tonight.
Let's do it.
I gave George a check, and this morning, I told you guys I'd really been praying about what we need to be doing right now and doing the right thing. I gave him a little more than I expected and meant to do, but after thinking about it this morning, I thought, you know what? A little extra, if all of us would give just a little extra to your favorite charity, or give a little extra to a local business, or tip a little extra at the table when you leave.
Absolutely.
Just a little bit extra. Our communities will pull through this scare and be shining at the end of the time. So we just need to pull together. We need to do the right thing, and we need to do good things. And it falls during Lent for those who are Methodist. Our pastor asked us to keep up with good deeds, to try to focus on doing more good deeds, and we're putting Post-it notes on the wall. And I don't want to put deeds on the wall, but I have concentrated on what could I do just a little extra that I don't normally do in my day. Whether it's sending a card to someone who's going through breast cancer, who really doesn't know you that well, but they know you've been there, or whether it's leaving extra money for the kid when you walk away from the dinner table and you had a nice meal. What the heck's 15% or 18% or 20%? I mean, who cares about that? What about just leaving that kid a little extra because they did a good job? So I just want us to think about that, think about what things we can do that are positive, that build communities. And Bill was talking about the Optimist Club auction. It's not just what they raise, it's the community spirit of those guys who are there working every night together. And what a
Then
great
it's just
community
like
effort they have.
he's got two guys bidding to be on the WPKY sports team, and so that he eggs one on, and they'll bid, then he eggs the other on, because it's all for a great cause, is to help kids get an education. So why not? But you can have some fun, and that's what builds a sense of community. And Cindy's exactly right. You're not going to get that on a streaming service or on satellite or whatever, all the thousands of channels you could try to tune into. There's only one WPKY, and we are so fortunate to be a part of that.
We are. My thought for the day this morning, I have started posting them on our Facebook page when I finish up in the morning show, and I've had people tell me, I heard that and it meant something to me. I wish I could see it throughout the day, so I'm posting it on the Facebook page. Here's the one I posted this morning, and I think it goes perfect. You hold in your hands the happiness of more people than you can even imagine.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's so true, though.
It just, that little extra that we're talking about. It
You
doesn't
never
take
know.
much.
You never know what it'll do or what kind of day somebody's having when you hold the door open or say, "How was your day? How you
Yes.
doing?" You know, that can mean all the change in the world to a really bad day to a really good day. And I'll tell you, he's not in here, so I can do it because he gets very embarrassed if I do it in front of him. But Ty
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Engelbert Humperdinck, best morning partner you could ask for. I mean, he has really worked hard with the radio auction this week, as he does with a lot of the civic organizations in our area. And I think over the years, he's another one of those that's been around PKY on and off forever, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was born at the station in the back room or,
It's just one of those things. There's something about radio, and when you fall in love with it, Beth Mann fell in love with it a lot younger than many of us did. But when you fall in love with it, whether you started working there as a teenager or you started working there when you were 37 or whatever, when you fall in love with radio, you never fall out of love with radio because
It gets in your blood.
It's in your blood. And I don't know. I think it's just the opportunity that you can see that you can make a difference. We make a difference, we feel like, every day, whether it's your weather coverage. Where we had a guy sit down with us yesterday. He was in there doing an interview about the Owl Weekend at Lake Barkley, Nick Edmonds. And before he left, he's like, man, we got a storms maybe coming this afternoon. I'll be listening to WKDZ. That's, I know exactly what I need to do. You are always there for us when we need you. And that's what radio is all about.
I'm going to tell you, and I know that a lot of times, I started at PKY when I was in my teens, and I think over the years you get I'm not going to mention that. I'm going to tell you, I'm glad that we've got 3 radio stations that band together as a team, because what we were able to pull off the last time there was a storm with Joshua, and God bless his heart, Josh is such a great kid.
Yes, he is.
And with him going and talking to everybody, I don't know very many people that weren't on the phone, of us that were, but at the same time, we're the people that they're used to getting their information from. So I think it means a lot to them when they hear Ty on the air, saying, well, look, that's what's going outside my bedroom window right now. This is what's going on my porch and in my front yard. I think that means something to them.
It's credibility.
Right.
And when people think of us first, it's because that we've delivered what we've said we would do in a way that makes them feel comfortable. We're inviting them they are inviting us into their home during good times and bad times and storms of life. So, that to me is the ultimate compliment.
Even younger generation, there's hard for me to believe because I have dozens of them, but some folks don't even have a radio in the house, but they'll be in their safe place and they've got their smartphone or their smart device with the app and they're playing the radio station, listening to coverage in their safe room, their safe space during severe weather. And that means I had a gentleman come up to me Monday thanking WPKY for weather coverage, lives in Lyon County, and said, man, it was tremendous. I could listen to my computer. I could hear everything that was going on and just took time to go out of his way to thank the staff.
I'll tell you the other one that come through the door just a minute ago, and I don't know if I could make him get in here or not, but another one that has just been a legend over the years with WPKY is Todd Griffin. Mm-hmm. And when you say that name, he just walked through the door.
Beth will get him.
If you say that name in this area, that means something. And that guy, I have never seen anybody, maybe other than Gary Goodacre, that could spit out a sports stat and hold on to it in that brain of his forever.
Scott Brown,
just
Tom
forever.
Rogers. Woo,
I'm telling you, my son, he wants to be Todd Griffin when he grows up. But that is the epitome of Caldwell County sports, and the pictures that he takes and the time that he takes. He goes way out of his way to go to, sporting events that he doesn't have to. Nobody's forcing him to. He goes to the small events. He goes to the big events. He goes backstage. He'll go in the locker rooms, and he goes way out of his way to do that, and he doesn't have to. And not only does he do that, he keeps records of it, so that 12 years from now, he can spit out a random stat that nobody else even remember. The kids may not even remember doing it. So I think it's one of those, round table moments where you go all the way around. And you talk about weather and then you go into sports. And I think that
one
gets
thing I
our
want
coverage.
to say about, I think what got me, and it was very early on when I worked at WKDZ, where we were out Will Jackson Road. We had a little block building out there that we worked in, and there was a tornado going through. And we were on the air live. At that time, I was not doing on-air radio, but I will never forget manning the phone. And a little lady called me, and she was so scared. She was in her bathtub, and she had her radio, and she had a pillow. And she was like, I don't know what to do. She lived in a trailer. And I remember thinking, I don't know what to tell you. I hope I'm saying the right thing. And I said, it made me realize how important that what we do is to people.
Yes. Oh,
yeah. And we actually had a tornado going right in our very vicinity, and we could feel the wind. We had all the doors open, and it was kind of like sucking through there. And it's like you put your life out there so everybody else can be safe.
It's terrifying.
But that's what we do. It's what we do, and we have an awesome team.
Well, and I can't say enough about John Miller either. John Miller is somebody that we all depend on. I mean, everybody in the building, everybody in the other building, and everybody in the other building.
Absolutely.
He's the one that 24/7.
I want to get him a shirt. Let me stop working on my stuff so I can fix your stuff. Because every time something breaks, we're like, John, I can't get the printer to work.
Well, and really and truly, I don't even have to fuss about things most of the time because he anticipates what I need before I know I need it half the time.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, he has been one of the biggest assets, I think, over the years. He's phenomenal, and I can't say enough about him. He's going to kill me, too. And he lets me chase him around at basketball and football games, which is amazing. I'm his intern at sporting events.
Yeah, you're kind of in the boys' club there, aren't you?
I know. I love it, though. I'll tell you, I love it. They let me tag along, and I could not love it any more than what I do. It drives me nuts when I miss a ball game. But Miss Beth Mann, I've seen her at the ball games too, so she enjoys them.
I love it.
But then I don't want to say her last because it's last but not least. It's Audrey Lamb with our news, and our news it gets better and better and better and better.
She didn't even know she was good.
Yeah.
I mean, she landed in a position not really, Cindy, much like you, not really looking to be in radio, or not necessarily looking to be a journalist. But wow, is she a good one?
Oh, yeah.
Because she cares. There's a big difference in a person who does something for a living, who does it
They take pride
because
in
they
their
live
work.
to do it.
She does.
There's a big difference, and you can show it. And she takes a lot of pride in her work, and I love that about her. I want to share a Christian message with you guys. I probably have never done this on the radio before, but it's one that touched my heart at the right time. And it comes from Donna Fincham, who's on our staff.
Oh, yeah.
And Donna does all of our traffic. She schedules every second of airtime on every property that we own, okay? And this really touched me yesterday because it was just the right time. It was just the right message. And she has a way with doing that, okay? We have a lot of people behind the scenes that do a lot of work for us that don't get all the glory.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't get the microphone. They don't get people patting them on the back when they go in the convenience store, and they don't want it. But here's what Donna Fincham sent our company yesterday. We do a company-wide email. It said, Philippians 4:6, be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Or in Kentucky English, don't worry about nothing, pray about everything, thank God for it all.
Amen.
I read in a devotional recently that said, if you pray, don't worry. If you worry, then don't pray. You make the choice how you react to the things that happen in life. So let's pray and let the Lord handle it. He's more than capable.
That's powerful right there, isn't it?
Very much so.
And I thought that's a good way.
I was talking with Ken Cummins, who's the general manager at WPKY, and we're like, Ken, Bob, it's a good thing we're not in charge because thank goodness God's got it. And he said, amen, brother.
I'd mess it up if I was.
Oh, my God, can you imagine?
Woo! We've got a newscast just right around the corner.
We sure do.
And,
Speaking of dedication, Audrey flew in on two wheels.
She
had a
did.
big meeting she's
and
covering.
Todd didn't join us because he's got a huge announcement. He's recutting his sports as we speak on KHSAA. Made an announcement just a few minutes ago. He's working on that for us for the noon news. But I just want to take 1 minute to say thank you. Thank you to this community for 70 years who's supported a terrific radio station. But our company would be nothing
without Willie
without
Wilson.
the community.
Yes.
And without
And
people
Willie
like
Wilson.
Klyman and Willie
That's
who
right.
started it, and Mr. Goodacre who loved it and made it happen and passed the torch on to us. And I am honored and I'm privileged to be the person to carry the torch for this company now and in the future, I hope for a lot of years to come. But a real difference in any radio station in the country is in its people.
Absolutely.
And I'm most proud of this staff and this team who every day give all they have and then some. And I seem to always be the one asking for the and then some and the and one. but you always step up to the plate, and you always do it. And I'm really, really, really proud to be the leader of this team in this community, and I thank the community for their support.
We're just glad you got our number to call.
Let's meet back for the 140th anniversary.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thank you all so much, and happy birthday to everybody. It's 70 years, and to be honest, the star of the show is you, because you're the one person that we had to have before we could make any of this possible in the last 70 years. So thank you so much, and happy birthday, 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Black Patch Grill.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast. Enjoy the dry weather today. We'll see